Right now, I am live in the Turkish airport jail. Hopefully, they let me out within the next few hours. This trip started off like any other trip that I take. I started off in Istanbul, Turkey, and I was on my way to Geneva, Switzerland to meet up with my father, who was going to be there for the Geneva Auto Show. So when I got to the airport, when I went to the counter to scan my passport to print out my boarding pass, I noticed that it took them a little longer than usual, and they had somebody come and look at it, but they told me I was fine. Then when I went to passport control, I waited like an hour in line, passport control. When I got to the counter, they asked me did I have a residence card and how long had I been in Turkey, so on and so on. So then they took me to go talk to somebody. That took probably about 20, 30 minutes. And then from there, they told me that I had a fine of 288 Turkish lira that I needed to pay in order to get back in the country. So, by the way, 288 Turkish lira is like 77 US dollars, so it's not a lot of money. And from there, the guy walked me to the line to pay the fine, and there were probably about 100 people in line. So he told me that if I would have stayed in line, then there was a 100% chance I was going to miss my flight. And the flights to Geneva, from Istanbul to Geneva, don't leave every hour or even every day for that matter. So he just said, here, sign this paperwork. And then once you come back on Sunday, just pay the fine and everything should be good. So from there, I left the airport and I thought everything was good. Went to Geneva, went to the car show, had a good time with my dad, saw sights of Switzerland. And, it was a pretty good trip, other than the fact that Geneva is extremely expensive and the city shuts down at like 7 o'clock. So if you plan on going to Geneva and enjoying the nightlife and don't have a lot of money, it's definitely not the place to go. So from there, I get back to Istanbul, and I get to the airport, go through the line at customs, and I show the paperwork that I signed to go pay the fine. They send me to somebody else. They send me to another person, and it just kind of goes on. By this time, maybe an hour had passed. And so I called Daphne, who works for the Fenerbahce basketball team. She spoke to him, and they're speaking in Turkish, so I have no clue what's going on. At this point, I'm really confused because my visa isn't set to expire until March 26th, and I believe the date was like March 20th. So I really didn't know what was going on, and even before I left the country, I know I had this trip planned. I thought I had crossed all my T's and dotted my I's to make sure I wouldn't have this issue, but there was just a mix-up in communication, and I guess being an American citizen, we're not used to having to deal with visa issues. We can normally get in any country we want to get in, and I'm assuming it's because they realize that we're going to come back to the States. We're unlikely to go to a different country and stay, while people from different countries deal with visa issues all the time. One of the guys tells me that I've overstayed my visa and I'm facing a 60-month ban. So I'm thinking like 60 months, that's 5 years. And so I go into a room and I'm trying to talk to people in the best way that I can communicate. I mean, they knew English, but they didn't know a lot of English, I should say. So they take me to a room, they pat me down and empty out all my bags to see what I had with me. And then when they start writing stuff down, that's when I kind of got a little worried. Like, why are they writing down what's in my backpack or whatever? So from there, they take me to a room, and it's like a cell. And I'm in there with people who had been detained. And I mean, I had privileges that everybody else didn't have. They allowed me to bring my cell phone and my charger in there. But I didn't have internet access, and then I'm on 3G service, so I mean I couldn't really pull up the internet on my phone. can't wait to get out of here. This is horrible. I'm literally in jail. So luckily for me, like I said, I had my phone. I called. I tried to communicate with my parents, everybody that I had spoken to that was wondering, was checking on me. I called my brother and I was like, I need you to go online. I need you to find me the first flight out to Athens, Greece. The reason I chose Athens was because it's close. It's the next country over from Turkey. And it's cheap for one. And then also a lot of people in Athens speak English. So of all the places I've been in Europe other than London, this is probably the place where English is spoken the most, so the transition and the communication issues wouldn't be too difficult. So it's probably like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then my brother he was able to find me a ticket. It was like €60, and it left at 11:25. So that means I got to get out at least 9 o'clock, because I had to be there 2 hours early. So got out to sell or whatever, and caught a plane to Greece.